Hi, everyone. I want to go through something very important that I actually made a video about previously, right? Before before UFC 298, I made a specific video where I was basically highlighting the importance of my predictions, especially the main event, specifically the main event of the pay-per-view. So before I go to that, let me just go through maybe some of the fights that I felt like were impressive. I'm not going to go through every single fight because I don't think they deserve that. Um, I'm just going to go through the fights that I felt like were important. Um, I'm also going to maybe I don't know how to do this, but I want to try to invite some of my subscribers to go live with me. Every time I go live, I want to start inviting some of you to actually be part of this and be on the screen with me and just go through what do you call it? Fight cards, basically. Every fight card that has happened, whether it's fight night or pay per views, I want to invite some of you guys to go live with me and for us to have a conversation. So before I get to what I wanted to say, I just want to go through the fights, especially those that I felt like were interesting. So let's start off with, is it Roman Kopylov? No, it's Barlow. That's one of the first few fights that I got wrong. Barlow is one of the most incredible fighters that I've ever seen. I think my prediction is largely based on the fact that I'm sorry about this. My prediction was largely based on the analysis that I've created, right? But I still need to improve it. My subscribers did really well because out of 12 fights, my subscribers got approximately nine correct. 9 out of 12 is not bad because it means they got like three wrong. I, on the other hand, did not fare so well because I got 7 out of 12, which is not great for me. Normally, I like getting at least maybe two wrong, not five. You know, seven is not great for me. But nonetheless, I think Barlow is one of those talented fighters who I feel like is going to eventually become a contender, and he's looking like a future champion, in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to his rise in the division. So yeah, that's one of the fights that I got wrong, but we live and learn. I'm going to improve that. The other one that I wanted to comment on, I'm not going to comment on every fight because not all of them were interesting. Another one is Rogerio de Lima. Oh my goodness. And part of me wanted to pick that guy, but there were so many elements that I felt like he's not going to win this fight. You know, there were so many, a variety of elements that made me feel like Rogerio is not going to win this fight. So I'm going to get to actually the point of this particular stream, but I want to go through first the fights of UFC 298. And maybe I'll give my thoughts on the main event of UFC 300. So back to De Lima. De Lima actually, he didn't really surprise me because I knew he was good. I think if you watch my predictions, you know I actually called it, and I said that De Lima is the better fighter. Just that the issue will come down to whether or not he shows up. I felt like his age would be a problem, but I did also mention that at heavyweight, age is not that much of a problem as much as it is at lower weight classes, which is evident in Alexander Volkanovski losing the fight. But I'll get to that. But at heavyweight, light heavyweight and heavyweight, age is not the same. It doesn't affect the fighters the same way it does from 170 going down. It doesn't affect fighters the same way. And I did mention this in my prediction for UFC 298. So I wanted to pick him, but I felt like there were so many elements, and I feel like because of the change in opponents, I rushed my prediction, and yeah, I got that. But nonetheless, congrats to Delima. On to Lemos. I think I remember picking Lemos to actually beat Zhang. Obviously, my subscribers picked Zhang, but I think Lemos is one of the most talented people in that particular division. Her problem is fight IQ. Like she was busy engaging Mackenzie Dern on the ground when she knew this person is like a champion on the ground. So why do you continue? Like that's one of the frustrating things about picking this particular person is that I know for a fact that she doesn't have a high IQ in terms of fighting because she makes stupid mistakes that you shouldn't be making that would cost her the fight. Because a lot of the fight, the reason it became so close is was because she was willing to go to the ground with Mackenzie Dern. Why would you do that to yourself? The girl is talented on the ground and you clearly have an advantage on the feet. Um, but nonetheless, yeah, she won. I wasn't really impressed, but nonetheless, I picked her to win. So that went really well for me. Another one that hurt me is Roman Kopylov. I honestly thought Kopylov would destroy Hernandez. My subscribers also thought the same thing because I think a lot of people thought Hernandez would actually lose to Kopylov. I was confident, like no flipping way Kopylov loses this one. And you know what? Hernandez proved us all wrong, or rather the majority of people, because I didn't see any comment. Okay, there were a couple of comments that were saying Hernandez, but congrats to him. Um, there's no other interesting one except the main event. Let's get to the main event. Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. I predicted this, and this is, let me get to the point of this particular stream, right? Um, I remember making a stream. If you are subscribed to my channel, you know this. Especially if you follow my live streams, you'll know about this. Before UFC 298, I made this stream whereby I was highlighting the fact that I went through all my predictions, main card, main but pay-per-view main events, right? Not fight nights or whatever the case is. Only main events, pay-per-view main events. Um, I made a video about that, but before I get to that, let me just give you my thoughts on this particular, what do you call it, main event. It's sad to go to see Alexander Volkanovski go out like that. He's one of the most talented and one of the most incredible champions that we've ever had in the UFC, and one of the most humble. There aren't that many humble champions in the UFC. I can't remember any, even though I'm a big fan of Islam Makhachev, but I don't feel like he's humble. He has a little bit of arrogance, which is expected from someone who's a champion in one of the most difficult divisions in the UFC. So that makes a lot of sense. But nonetheless, he was one of the most humble and talented and dominant champions. But nonetheless, I predicted that Ilya is going to beat him. And it was sad to see, but nonetheless, I actually foresaw that coming. So let me get to the point that I was making. I think if you don't know this, then maybe I'll run through it again. So what I was saying in the previous stream is that I think it was in terms of betting, right? I know that there are a lot of people who are betting fights and all those type of things. So I was referring to the fact that for as long as this channel has been in existence, right? Because I started channel last year around this time. So this is my 1 year birthday for the channel, I guess. So since I started it, I've made predictions amounting to maybe 13, not 13, maybe 14 or 15, right? From Hill up until right now, up until the Ilia Topuria fight. So I started predicting fights from the pay-per-view of Hill, what do you call him? This guy who's going to fight at UFC 300, Jamal Hill and Glover Teixeira, right? I started predicting from that particular point on. And then throughout that whole process, the only fights that I've ever gotten wrong, out of 14 or 15 fights, I got only three wrong. Main card predictions. So what essentially I was saying was that even this particular pay-per-view, I got correct. I predicted Ilia. Even the previous pay-per-view, I got it correct. I predicted, what do you call him? Dricus Duplessis. So basically, what I was saying, I was saying, it would be so flipping lucrative to actually invest in only if ever you follow me and this is not financial advice. This is just me saying, look at my previous track record, go to the shorts section, and look at the main events. Everything else, obviously, it fluctuates. Sometimes I not so much, but I never go below 50%. But my main point relates to main events, right? Like main events for pay-per-views. I've predicted approximately 12 to 13 correct, and I've gotten only three wrong. So if ever I was betting like 5,000 on only main event on the fights that I've been predicting, I would have made a significantly large amount of money because most of the time I pick underdogs. Most of the time, I picked Sean O'Malley to win against Aljamain Sterling. I picked obviously Dricus Duplessis to win. I picked what do you call him, Ilia Topuria to beat what's Alexander. The fighters were underdogs, and you could, like, a lot of people probably made a lot of money just on pay-per-view, on main card, because ultimately you shouldn't be betting on every single fight. That's not financially smart. You should actually make smart decisions by selecting specific bets whereby you feel like you're going to be able to win that particular, like managing your risks basically. So that's essentially why I feel like I was referring. This is the point of this particular stream, is to basically highlight the fact that I have actually predicted the majority of main event pay-per-views correctly. So if personally I was investing in them, then I would have gotten a significantly large amount of money. So let me go to the, what do you call it, the the main event of UFC 300. Um, I don't know if you guys have heard. It seems like Alexander Volkanovski, Alex Pereira is going to headline with Jamal Hill, which is kind of a letdown, especially for UFC 300. You think that the more exciting pay per view is UFC 299. That's the most exciting, which is weird because UFC 300 should have had the fights that are on UFC 299. But nonetheless, we're going to watch, but it's not as exciting as we would have assumed it would be, especially based on what Dana White was saying. But nonetheless, yeah, I think I made my point. If I need to say anything more about UFC 300, I'll create a different stream.